This is one of my favorite phases of construction where the framing's in, the mechanicals have just started, things are really coming to life. But you know, not everyone sees houses like I do. And if you're watching this build show, you might have this ability, like I do, to look at 2D plans and kind of generally picture what the spaces look like. But how many clients have that same ability? How many people building houses come to this stage and are clueless about how they got here? About 10 years ago, I had a client where we were doing a whole house remodel, down to the studs, moving walls around, doing all kinds of stuff. And in the middle of this stage, the wife said to the husband, as she was in the kitchen area, "Honey, did you know these were walls?" And she was pointing to the plans. She had been through probably 20 meetings that I had sat with her and the architect, plans rolled out, nodding her head, seemingly understanding what the house was going to look like. And I realized at that moment when she yelled out, "Honey, did you know these were walls?" She was 100% clueless as to what was happening with that whole design process. And until she could visualize it and see it in framing, she did not know what that house was going to look like. This is no knock on male versus female, right? There's amazing female architects and male architects, but there are some people that can visualize and others that can't. So in the build show today, we're going to talk to you about some rendering software that we did on this particular house that I think is a total game changer for builders to be able to really understand what they're building and show their clients to avoid those crazy change orders because they just didn't know what they were getting into. Today's build show is sponsored by Builders First Source. Let's get going. All right, so let me cue you up where we are here. This is a house that we've been to before. We did a ready frame package on this house, my very first time doing ready frame. And as part of that process, Builders First Source basically built the entire house on the computer. Now they weren't designed, they weren't part of the design process. We had a designer, an architect involved over here, but we gave them the architecturals and then they took those architectural plans and turned this entire house into the sticks and bricks that it took to build it. And as part of that, they were able to actually take it to the next step, which is render it. And speaking of which, I actually have Cindy with Builders First Source here. Cindy, thank you for joining me on the job site.
So good to see you, Matt.
So Paradigm, which is BFS's software that powers this. Talk to me about what Paradigm looks like and what we did on this house for our homeowners / the builder who works for me, Luke, and his wife.
You got it. So we did a couple of things for you guys. First, as you mentioned, we took your architecturals and then we put them into a 3D world. So everybody knows when you use ReadyFrame, you get that ReadyFrame book. The ReadyFrame design is created in a 3D space, but we also pulled together the engineered floors and the engineered roof trusses to pull them into that same model. So that model comes together, and then we're standing in this kitchen, and we're able to then...
So we're able to see basically every stick that we see here.
Yes.
We're able to see on the computer first and do a walkthrough together. We actually took Luke, the builder here, and walked through it to make sure there was no conflicts or no issues, right?
Absolutely. Then we were able to give you spaces for your HVAC. We were able to place boxes for your electrical and conduit for your slab.
Yeah, even all of our lighting layout, we've got these DMF cans up here. All those we're able to look at, truss layout, and where those cans are in relationship to that, which now that we've got those installed, that makes a big difference.
And you could center them and make sure that they could be centered versus being in the middle of where a truss would be. One of the other things I noticed in the bedroom is none of your engineered floor trusses are cut. All the plumbing was able to be run and put in the right spaces.
Because we thought about it ahead of time.
Because we thought about it ahead of time.
That's
and
right.
Once we were able to get through all the sticks, which you can see with the different colors, you have your girder trusses, you have just your interior frame walls, you have your headers, so that you could really see how the windows would come together and what was going to be needed, and also where the ready frame pre-cut lumber would be be placed.
Now let me pause for 1 second. Earlier in the video, I said in the story of my homeowner who said, "Honey, these are walls."
Yeah.
That framing package would be the same for them. Like they couldn't look at this in the sticks phase and understand what was happening. but you can go to this next phase.
Absolutely. So now we're standing in the exact same space, but this is the video. And this video has all the bells and whistles. So not only does it have your lighting, your fixtures, your colors, it also has material selection. So we can give them an inspiration. So a home buyer, in your particular case, could come to you and say, here's a couple pictures or my Pinterest board of all the materials and selections I love. We then can now render that architecture that the architect, their design. We can take the structural engineer and apply their structural components. Then we can take all of the designs that came from BFS, put them into a real Revit model, and hand it off to some designers and give that buyer a real view of what their house is going to look like.
So this video walkthrough that we've got here allows Luke and Lori, our homeowners, and Luke's the builder here, to literally walk through the entire house. And this is a file that you can send to anybody, so it's emailable, let's say.
Textable.
Textable, but it shows them all the locations. Like this kitchen area we are right here, this is really hard to come in as a homeowner who doesn't understand plans and really understand what's happening. But Luke and Lori were able to walk through this space and really get what was happening here based on these renderings. 'Cause I think it'd be really fun to hear from Luke and Lori's perspective what this software did for them. Hey y'all, let me introduce you to Lori. Lori, your husband has been building houses with me many years, and this is really the first time I've done a rendering. I'm curious from your perspective. You know, you're not a builder for a living. I know you have a whole nother career. What was it like seeing your new house go from just 2D drawings from the designer to this like movie walkthrough? What was that like from your perspective?
It was eye-opening, really. I mean, for me, it changed the game, I guess. I was excited about the process and seeing things in that nature, you know, in the architectural plans. But to see it in this 3D walkthrough, I mean, it got me so excited, very excited about the process, and just to kind of see things in a way that I would never normally get to see. You know, in this real-time, real view. Like, I would have never known some of the things that were going to be in the space, like this grandness of the space that we're in right now.
Yeah, this space is a great example of that. And I'll be honest, I've been building almost 30 years. I'm used to seeing 2D plans and kind of thinking what it looks like, but this is not an easy space to visualize. Like when I first saw the 2D plans, I didn't quite get what this big window is going to look like, this big rake wall. I mean, it's kind of a grand space right here in a house that's a family house, not some $5 million mansion that we're building.
Right. It has those elements of it which we never would have seen. There was no way I would have known that this window was this big or this space was going to be this high and this open. And I think being able to see it in those plans and the walkthrough of the 3D rendering, it really helped for me, for someone who doesn't get to visualize the space like my husband gets to. He knows it. He like lives it. I don't get to do that kind of thing. To have that at my fingertips, to be able to see it, it just really helped me. Like I said, I'm on board. I'm ready. Let's make this our forever home. So.
Now you changed some of this too, though, right? Because of that, of seeing that, and what here is different than the original plan?
So originally, this was a solid, simple space, right? It
so
was
the
just
wall
one
came
wall.
straight down
just
from the
came
stairs,
straight down, and
like
then
a door
fed
to get into a closet kind of
exactly,
thing.
little like pocket closet kind of thing. And so after kind of looking around at it and seeing it, we wanted to do something a little bit more special, more us. We love drinking wine. We love to kind of relax in little spaces here. And so we decided after much talk that we wanted to make this kind of like our little wine cellar, little mini something that kind of gives it a little spin to this area.
So
and then we're
fun.
going to do a little bookshelf over in this area over here, which I think will pull everything in together.
Yeah, and then this is the door to your master.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of fun to see that as you make this kind of grand entrance into your master.
Exactly. It brought a whole new level to this area. Like it was something that was already beautiful and amazing, but just adding this little special nooks to it, I'm just so excited about this space now.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Another quick question for you. I think I remember Luke telling me, because I didn't see you a whole lot when you were first doing those, but I think Luke mentioned that when you saw the kitchen, kind of great room, that family room space, there was originally like a white kitchen kind of plan for the house. And you're like, oh, I don't know if this works now that I see this. Can you talk me through that?
So I think when I originally was looking at the kitchen, everyone's in that white, that feeling of white. And I feel like the space that we have given to us has a lot of earth, a lot of nature around us.
That's a great point.
And I think after seeing it that way, it gave me the opportunity to say, I want to bring a little warmth back in. I want to bring a little color. And so for me to be able to choose those colors that they were given, we kind of moved toward the green color. I feel like it brought so much more warmth into this house, which I think I wanted it and needed it to have that little bit of a comfort of that color.
Yeah.
And I feel for that, being able to see it in that stark white, not stark, but in that way, I was like, I can make this change. And to have that option to click on it to see it real time what it would look like, it changed it for me.
Did you guys end up clicking around a bunch and like changing options? Did you play with it at all?
Oh yes, hours worth. Kind of turned in a little bit of a game, just because of your ability to do things in different areas.
Yeah.
I mean, you could spend hours changing the color schemes of things that you want. You might wake up one day and say, maybe I want a dark black accent wall for the back of my bedroom. Maybe I want to do like the island in a natural wood color. Mm-hmm. And you have the ability to make that change before you actually start painting and making those decisions, which was really very important for me.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Lori, I'm going to go grab your husband because I want to ask him a couple questions.
Okay.
Hey guys, let me introduce you to Luke Marks. Luke and I have been building houses for many years, but this is the first time you've ever seen, at least I have too, right? This 3D kind of software, right?
Yeah, first time I've ever, a little bit of renderings from architects from time to time, but nothing like walk through 3D.
And this is a different kind of project for you, Luke, because this is, if I understand right, this is your first build for yourself, right?
Yeah.
You've never built a house for yourself
Done
before.
a remodel or two for light remodels, but this is the first time from ground up.
And you're in a weird position as the builder and the homeowner, because your wife is your spouse, the mother of your children,
The client.
The client. You're trying to make sure that she's really excited about it. And I talked with Lori earlier about kind of some of the aha moments she had, but I'm curious from your perspective, what was it like working with this?
I'm pretty good at looking at a plan and kind of visualizing what normal rooms are going to look like, but it's always hard to visualize kind of what the rake walls are going to look like, the open spaces in the stairwell, and so that helped. But it was also really helpful for me to visualize it for her.
Yeah.
She tends to. I'll give her an idea. She says, "Can you do that on SketchUp or a 3D?" And I do. I'm not very good at it,
Yeah, I'm the same way.
my selections are limited. This was like, I took a snapshot of this picture or this, or we just changed it up. It was very helpful for us to see what things are actually going to look like. And it's way cheaper to do it now than after it's already said and done. So
Yeah, plus the hassle factor,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't care about the change order money. I just don't want to bring the framer back, and then I
Yeah.
got to piece in the sheathing and redo the water. And what if we damage the window when we take it out and move it?
Yeah.
So being able to do this was really cool. I'm curious from your perspective, Luke, now that you've done it, the Paradigm people, the Builders First Source people are telling me, for a 5,000 square foot house, this is maybe $2,500, $3,000. What do you think about that price point for either you personally or for our clients?
yeah, we're building this house on a little bit tighter budget than the people that we normally work for.
Yeah.
And so we don't have an interior designer or anybody to help us out with that other than friends and family to run it by.
Yeah.
And this tool kind of replaces them, not that it replaces their knowledge, but it lets me change the wall color, change the trim color, change the windows, everything. And I don't have to look through, bring out paint samples and look. And I might have to still a little bit, but it'll be within a small range of different whites or different grays or whatever I want to do. But
Or
not
what
just,
color green do we want for
Yeah,
our cabinets?
exactly.
But is
I
it
get
green, blue, or purple?
and I can get close to it, and then we can figure out and pick between 3 greens, not 800 greens.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, for a client perspective, I could see us on a big house that we sell for a large amount of money to run this, pay for it ourselves, and be able to give the client a visual when you're trying to sell them the job. You show up and have maybe not the whole thing rendered, but a good portion of it, and really give them that visual so you're not in that same situation
That would be
where
huge.
someone doesn't even know where the walls are. Now they can look at it and say, and it's amazing. It got us really excited about the build because it feels like, you kind of know where you're going.
I could see us winning jobs big time by paying for this and using this as part of a sales tool.
Probably our PSA.
Yeah, because once they see it, that's right. We do a professional services agreement. We're paid to bid and maintain the project. To put it in that PSA for people to see it, man, they would get super excited once they visualize it.
It really got us excited.
Yeah, for sure. Luke, congratulations, man. Beautiful
you.
house. Thanks for letting us film over here.
It's great.
Good stuff.
Thanks.
All right, we'll see you all later. It was really fun to talk to those guys and hear about this. What were your takeaways from spending time with Luke and Lori?
I don't get to do that very often. So for me, that was a lot of fun to hear from an actual homeowner what it was like to see their home for the first time in a real 3D photo-like world. One of the things that Lori talked about was her daughter's bedroom and how this window feature in the front of the house, which gives tremendous curb appeal, an aesthetic to the design that the architect intended, she really didn't have an appreciation for what it was going to look like until she was able to see the video. She made that same comment about this space in particular because of the grandeur of this room and some of the sizing of this windows. Until she saw it in this video, she really just didn't appreciate how beautiful the structure was going to come together and what she could do with it when she wanted to make it her own.
That's really cool. Now let's talk pricing on this, right? Because this isn't free. This is for Builders First Source customers, and this is an add-on service. Can you give me some idea of what this might cost for builders?
Absolutely. So for a home builder that's looking to build a house for the first time, there's a lot of things you're going to run into that first build of a house. Oh, yeah. Custom, not only do you have customers that have to make their choices and selections, but sometimes those choices and selections don't fit within the design that was originally intended. So change orders are a big thing. We know that not only change orders, but also the impact of material selections can have a little bit of an impact when you're all pulling it together. So BIM coordination is layered on top of your ready frame, truss, or engineered floor designs. We take those designs together, we pull them into a Revit model, and then we provide consultation services with your trades, with your superintendents, your home buyer if you want to have them involved with you, so that we can sit down and make really strong decisions about how we want to pull together, not only mechanicals, but also just structural elements of the house. Yeah. That service, if Ready Frame hasn't been purchased, is about $5,000 for us to come in and work through that process. It's about a 4-week process. Okay. And most of that time is spent making sure that the 3D models are exactly as everyone intended, but then also getting on everybody's schedules to have those coordination meetings.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then let me define the term a little bit for those watching who aren't familiar with BIM coordination. That's Building Information Management. And that's a fancy term for understanding the bill of materials, everything that's needed to build this house so that we could actually count how many Doug Fir 2x6 SPF, whatever studs we've got in the house, and we can actually get that full bill of materials and know exactly, even though this is a prototype, it's never been built before, what it's going to take to build this house.
The 3D world has been so prolific in the commercial space, but it hasn't really been utilized in residential. Yeah. And so being able to give a builder, and also, as you can see, a consumer, the view of what the architect and the structural engineer intended in a real world also then does produce the estimate, because we're counting the exact, not just the stick, but also where that stick's going to go. Yeah. Now you take that to the next level and you can render it and they can see the visualization of it, and then you get to the third product, which lets them play around with the colors and features.
That's pretty awesome. So then it's roughly $5,000, depending on the size of a house, right? A bigger house is going to cost more, but then it's another additional fee for the full rendering, right?
The video, yes. I mean, and we if there are particular areas of the house that are important, images are certainly a cheaper way to go, less expensive way to go. But if you want to do that full walkthrough, which is, open the front door, walk in, see what the foyer is going to look like from a guest's entrance, check out all of your spaces, all the important spaces that were important to you. Even take the time to maybe render some of the important aesthetics you've built around, like art pieces or...
oh, you could actually render an art piece on the wall if you knew what it was?
Send a picture, we can put it on the wall.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And if you have, those bigger houses have some very important elements that they've designed around. Sure. And so being able to differentiate your business as a custom builder and show what that's going to look like, it can be pretty prolific to a customer. Yeah. And then, of course, you have a customer that, as we heard from Lori, sent that video out more than 100 times to her friends and family.
And then you can take to the next stage, too, where they can actually play with those selections and go, hey, what would this kitchen look like if it was white or green or blue? What if I did a walnut island here rather than painted? You can make all those changes and selections, right?
Yeah, so once the BIM model is created, it now is the same model that's used to create the estimate, which is the same model that's used to create the visual walkthrough, which is the same model used to power the software that lets you apply those color changes and material changes. To go so much further, it's actually the same model that's used to create the manufactured products and deliver the trucks that you received outside.
That's so cool. What's super fun about this for me, I've been building for almost 30 years. My first 10 years of construction was all in the production builder world, where we had a whole team of people doing this back at the corporate office, and I didn't see any of that in the field.
Yeah.
Now that I've been a custom builder, I lost that whole corporate back office. And I haven't been able to do this. And a lot of architects that I work with aren't able to do this. So now, for a few $1,000s, I can have BFS do this for me, differentiate me as a builder so I can show those homeowners what it's going to look like. But I think the other really big deal about this is I see this really streamlining the field operations and reducing change orders. There's so many times that we've been in a house under construction where people go, you know, I really wish I had a better whatever from this window, or I needed to add this or that or change this, or I just don't like this selection now that I see it. Let's tear it out. We got to do something different. And then who pays for what? How do we do that? So being able to see this, render it, I think that's money well spent. And I think I'm going to bake that into my pre-construction services fee that I charge for homeowners.
I mean, I can see why you would do that, and being able to give your buyer that ability to really be confident in their selections at the beginning stages. I've had a lot of builders tell me over the years they don't mind change orders because from their perspective, the buyers pay for them, right?
Yeah.
But it's always a construction delay.
Yeah.
And you can't know what that change is going to impact in other places. So while they might be lucrative or they might be beneficial in some ways, being able to give a really confident build and keep to your timelines helps everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Cycle time is huge for us.
Absolutely.
If I can build 2 houses in the amount of time it takes to build 1, I make a lot more money as a builder.
Completely agree with you. And one of the comments that Luke made to us during his virtual frame walkthrough, which is what we do with that BIM model. Don't build the house and then walk it. Let's build it in the 3D world and walk it and find our problems here. Is we really weren't sure what window was going to go above the door. We just didn't know. We knew it was going to be big. So the answer was make it as structurally big as you can so that we can build it later. And so material selection is another reason why being able to look at things and know how you're going to build around what you're just not sure about yet, man, that happens all the time in the custom world.
So awesome. Cindy, how can people find out more about Paradigm? Is there a good website they can go to?
Absolutely. Builder.com, BLDR.com is where all of the digital solutions that, the digital tools powered by Paradigm are available.
We'll put a link in the description on that, guys. And if you're not currently a Builders First Source customer, I forget the amount of there's like 500 plus locations around the country. Huge company. They've been a great partner of mine. I've actually been a customer for about almost 20 years now, long before they were a Build Show sponsor. So this is an old relationship for me, and it's fun to see this amazing tool be available for custom builders like it was for me when I was a builder building 10,000 houses a year. This is absolutely a game changer. Big thanks to Builders First Source for sponsoring. Big thanks to Cindy for making the trip out to see me today. If you're not currently a subscriber, guys, hit that subscribe button below. You know we've got new content here every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow us on TikTok or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.